So welcome owners, it's Chris here again from Pulse Racing Thoroughbreds. It's another instalment of owners information and fun facts and interesting segments. So today's segment we've got Dave Mee from PBI, Pinhook Bloodstock International. And Dave is our resident Bloodstock agent and has been now for a number of years. I think at least 4 years Dave's been working with us. Really helpful for us to get the advice that Dave, his expert advice that he can give us at the sales. And I thought I'd just bring him on so that you can see who he is, and if we see each other out of the sales, he can have a quick chat to you. He does love a chat, and he can give you a bit of information about some of his background, what he does, how he does it. So welcome, Dave.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Cameron and Chris. Glad to be here. I apologise for my appearance. I'm living my best lockdown life at the moment, but pleased to be here.
As we all are. So Dave, I'll throw a few questions at you, but you're obviously a registered Bloodstock agent with the Federation of Bloodstock Agents Australia, experienced Bloodstock agent, and just a bit about your experience in the industry.
Look, I've been in it my whole life, really. Like, I grew up in New Zealand, and my grandfather and father were horse nuts, so I wasn't really into sheep, so I sort of left that to my brother. But we've grown up with horses. Trained and bred, worked in Cambridge stud for many years, and then did a big OE overseas in America and in Europe for about 5 years, working for trainers and agents and farms, and then came back to Australia. Actually worked for David Payne when he first came. I was the only silly bugger who'd worked for the money he was paying, but but no, that was a great experience helping David set up. We're still good friends, and I never really wanted to be a trainer. I couldn't get myself out of bed at 4 in the morning, but I started Pinhook Bloodstock back in 2005, and I've really just built it up into what it is today. So a full service bloodstock agency. So absolutely love it. I really love the industry and the people, and obviously the horses is the number one. So yeah, I've been in business for about 15 or so years now, so really enjoying it. Just feel like I'm getting going.
Yeah. So, you with us, obviously we've had a few together. Our stable isn't exactly huge, but you've picked 100% winners to runners for us. Some of your highlights of your career, mate.
Well, look, I guess my career has sort of been in two parts. When I first started out, I was selling a lot of horses domestically and into Asia, and I've had some really nice winners overseas in Hong Kong and Macau. I had a nice couple of stakes winners. Elderly Paradise, he was only in Macau, and I say only Macau, but he was a Dana singer out of the Zabeel mare we picked up out of a trial at Cranbourne, and he was the horse of the year. He won everything up there, and he was actually not a shame. It's not trying to denigrate Macau racing, but it's not quite what it used to be. But they actually took him over to Dubai, and he won a really nice race over there, and he won the Gold Cup and the Derby, and he was an amazing horse. I think he won about 15 races. And Go Baby Go, an express win in Hong Kong. In recent times, last year was really, I wouldn't say it was a breakthrough year, but it was a really progressive year. We had two horses that I'd purchased or co-purchased as young horses. Let's Crack a Deal. We ran second in the South Australian Derby. Just ran into one better there. And also a Written Tycoon filly, Miss Tycoon Rose, we actually purchased as a weanling. Wasn't a great pinhook. We didn't make that at the guys. Didn't make much money as a yearling trade, but she actually ran second in the New Zealand 1,000 guineas. So I could go on and on and on, but those two were probably the highlights in the last sort of 12 months or so.
Thanks, mate. So we get together, we do the sales over, we have a good time as well. But the role that you play with our team, with myself and Cameron and the other people involved in our team, and then going through from what your sales process is, when you approach a sale, we'll talk about the horses individually later, but, how do you actually go ahead and look at them, look at all of them, where you start from, sort of a real dedicated process as part of the Pulse Racing team.
Sure. Well, look, these days I've got sort of generally multiple orders at any one sale, but it really just sort of it goes back to me asking the client like yourselves, what are you guys looking for? So, if you're looking for a sprinter or an early 2-year-old or more a staying sort of a horse, I endeavour to look at each horse at every yearling sale we go to, and then I'll narrow that down. I'm quite forgiving on the first look, so it'll take time to get through each horse. I go through them a second time, and then I start separating horses into lists, say for yourself or other clients, on what you're looking for. And then at that point, normally yourself or the other clients, we spend time with each of them or with you to go and look at the shortlist, and then obviously what you've got to like what you're buying, and you'll ultimately have the last decision. So I kind of see myself as a talent scout, really, in some ways. So the process involves looking at them all, fine-tuning the second list, and then any horse we bid on or a client will bid on, I'll normally look at least 3 or 4 times. But I'm big on the cornerstone of buying any horse is really athleticism, and it starts with the type, and then as we go along in the process, as we narrow it down, I like to get every horse pedigree rated from the pedigree people that I use, just to get a bit of an idea on the genetic matchup. And then if they pass that stage, we go on to vetting. Vetting's obviously very important. Got to have full disclosure for your clients, and then it really just comes down to hoping you can buy the best horse or the horse that you wish for the budget that you have. So there is a process, and it does take time, but that's normally the process. Full look into second, third looks, and then you feed it into the genetic makeups and the vetting, and then as I say, try and buy it within budget.
So Dave, you look at thousands and thousands of yearlings, not including weanlings and other horses that pre-mare sales, etc., and tried sales. So what are you looking for in a yearling? What's the physicality? What are the sort of things? I know every horse is different, and we get to the stage where we do the sales, and I see some horses and say, I know Dave will like that horse because I'm starting to key onto certain horses that you actually like. But just for the owners, what are you looking for? Because they've purchased some of your horses, they've been involved in your horses. What are you looking for from a physicality point of view?
Look, it's really an athlete. Athleticism is number one. It's just the type, but if you can transpose what you're looking for in a yearling, like an equine athlete, you look at a human athlete, and athletes can come in all shapes and sizes, like your Kathy Freemans, your Wendell Sailors, your Darren Lockyers, your Matt Giddos. They come in all shapes and sizes, but for me, there's a handful of non-negotiables. I mean, when they walk out of the block, they've got to have presence and attitude, the right attitude. It's often in the body language, the way they carry themselves. So I just like a horse that he has confidence within himself. He has a good demeanour. I like a horse that's athletic. Balance is very important. Young horses, when they go at a yearling stage, are often out of shape, but you can kind of forecast your mind to what they'll be like in a year or two's time. I like balance within the overall structure of the horse, and also a horse that's balanced on its feet. You can often tell a lot when the horse turns around. They've got balance on their feet, and I just like fluid movement. But over the course of time, some sprinting horses, a lot of sprinting horses, they don't have great actions. There's certain size, like not all of them, but you could lead some leading size, like I think it's fair to say that some I'm Invincibles and Schwarzies, they're not the greatest walkers, but they've just got that nervous energy and brilliance about them that makes them top end sprinters. Whereas a staying horse, you like to see that nice, easy gait, and they use themselves very well. Very big on big heart girths, and very big on the length of hip to hock, and the length of from the point of the hip to the point of hock. So they've got that leverage. So a lot of little different things, but overall, presence, athleticism, balance, fluid movement, and a good attitude is what I really encompass. I like to encompass in any horse I purchase, and then it comes down to price, of course.
So speaking of price, obviously pulse racing thoroughbreds, albeit trying to be as successful as we can, we've always got a budget.
Yep.
So within that, you mentioned a couple of stallions. You talked about the Invincibles, etc., which you have to really sort of have a big wallet to afford some of those at this point in time with its market. So what are you looking for from a pedigree point of view?
Again, it's a lot of different things. It's it's a little bit hard to explain, but if you tell me, the client tells me he's after a sprinter, maybe a 2-year-old sprinter. Well, look, I like to see a bit of consistency within a pedigree, the female family that they of the distance ranges, from the first down a third dam. I mean, you don't want to see within a family 1,200 metres to a 2-miler to, you like to see a bit of consistency within the pedigree. I'm big on horses that were big on heart, that tried a lot. I mean, I'm Invincible. He wasn't a Group 1 winner, but he tried his heart out. So I like to see heart that you know about. I don't like buying out of mares that have had a lot of racing. Often, when you find a shortlist, you'll go and look at your the horses, and you'll dig into the mare, what they've done previously. They might have been brilliant horses, but they got injured. I think those more lightly raced mares, they throw more into their foals. So a lot of it, some of it, not a lot of it, but some of it goes in behind what's in behind the catalogue page. So I like to see good structure. I like to see well-known sires within the pedigree as broodmare sires. And I also like buying out of mares that, there's a stakes perform in the first 3 dams in the tail female line. I crunched a lot of numbers a few years ago, and proportionally speaking, you find a lot more winners out of those tail female families that have had a stakes winner in the first 3 dams. But generally out of a fast mare that wasn't necessarily a champion, but, she tried and she had ability. But they're not always easy to find. So, but if you're after a 2-year-old type of horse, you generally like to buy, there's 2-year-old form within the pedigree, closer up, not necessarily the first dam, but so consistency, good balance, structure within the pedigree, and often it comes down to value. There's horses out there that I love that I just, for whatever reason, I just haven't been able to afford. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's just life. You just try the best horse you can with the budget you got.
Absolutely. So speaking of value, that's the next question, really. How do you ensure the most value is obtained for your clients? I know when we've worked together, we've, a lot of work that you haven't disclosed that I rely on you a lot is your knowledge with the breeders and with the studs, and looking at the consignment and going, what's a fair price, and getting a price so that you can determine that value. How do you ensure the most value for me and my owners?
Yep. Well, look, value is a hard one to measure. If you're actually measuring value in terms of purely a financial return, well, that actually can't be measured until after the horse has finished racing. But in real terms, the value that I can provide is, I'm all about repeat. If I don't get winners for you or help you buy winners, you're not going to be coming back to me. So, the value lies. I mean, Hard Lady was an example. Look, she was an honest performer, was no world beater, but I would concede that the actual enjoyment, that the tremendous amount of enjoyment the owners got out of it, and that's hard to measure. But the value I offer at the coalface, at the point of purchase, is that look, I keep a lot of records of sire averages through the years, so I can actually see how a sire's tracking in terms of the commercial appeal, the stallion average. So I keep those records and have them in my back pocket, and I try and buy those horses that are above average types for below average prices. You can't hold, you can't. It's not something that you get too hung up about, but it gives you a base for comparison. So we buy a nice Rubik, and the averages for the last 2 years have been 70, 80 grand. We buy an outstanding physical for, you know, on or around about the average. I know I've done my job. And I mean, it's, you know, I mean, well enough. It's just really the way I'm wired personally. I mean, I like to get value for my clients and myself. So I'm not, you know, value can be, you're still spending six figures, but it can still represent value. So, you know, I just, you know, I keep records, and I, you know, I'm always a bargain sort of buyer. I have been. That's just the way I'm wired. So, and I hopefully the proof's in the pudding. The horses that we purchased a couple this year, Brazen Bow and Nexus here, and I thought we bought above average types for below average prices. So, hopefully that answers that one.
Thank you, Dave. Much appreciated. I certainly, and the team here, and Cameron and Michael, certainly enjoy working with you at the sales. It's an easy go. The invitation is always there for owners to come out and actually spend some time and meet Dave and travel around with me and do the sales. I often send the invite out, and I will continue to do that at next sales. We'll be planning to go to our the full gamut of sales from Magic Millions up in January till basically to Sydney, the Ingles sales, and to Melbourne, the Premier sale, and then back to Magic Millions in June if we have to go and purchase those future winners for you guys. And we're very happy, and hopefully we've engaged Dave and he stays with us for at least the next sales season and many more, because we've had some great success with them.
Just getting warmed up, man. So I'm really looking forward to the once we get out of this COVID situation. I can't wait for January to roll around. It's going to be exciting.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dave. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
No problem.